Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. Support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys. Head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Who the hell am I?
I'm a construction worker. I have to go to the bathroom. I said, be right back.
I'm a cop, you idiot!
Pasta.
Oh, I'm Detective John Kimball.
Who is your daddy?
Answer the question!
And what does he do?
Put that cookie down! Now!
What is there even to say?
Do we need any preamble here? It's us, it's we.
It is we.
And it's Terminator 2, guys. It's Terminator 2!
Judgment
the best movie!
Day. Holy smokes. Welcome to a brand new episode of Into the Mr. Universe, our Arnold Schwarzenegger podcast, brought to you by Norm from Cheers. Thank you, Norm. Thank you for this moment. Not that I needed to special watch Terminator 2 Judgment Day, but that's what we're at.
Yeah.
We've been going through all of Arnold's, his movies and talking about him as an actor, and we finally, covered the Terminator, but this is really it, right? This is peak Arnold.
I never believed this day would actually come.
Yeah,
this is peak Arnold.
Kindergarten Cop. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Terminator 2. Hopefully, I think we'll be doing this enough to cover Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, but we'll see. But this is it.
Cross that bridge. Yeah,
this is it, baby.
Man, this is the biggest film Arnold ever did.
Yeah, it's got to be, right?
Yeah.
There's no question.
This was huge. It was the hugest movie it was everywhere. You couldn't escape it the summer it came out.
No, I wonder if we can watch T2 3D Battle Across Time.
I hope so.
Yeah, but
I think it's on YouTube.
He's about to do True Lies after this. This is Arnold and James Cameron just fucking doing it.
Yeah, just going ham.
Doing it. And this is much like Terminator, and we've talked about this. To me, this feels more like a James Cameron film than an Arnold Schwarzenegger film.
Yeah, even though it's an Arnold film, but...
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think, it goes without saying, I made a storybook of this as a kid that I still have, where, in school, they make you make a book. Yeah, I just retold Terminator 2 in book form.
That's pretty sweet.
I did the novelization. Yeah.
I also have a Terminator 2 school booklet story.
Yeah. Good.
It's we had to make a little booklet in my second grade class about our favorite things, and I wrote in my favorite movie was Terminator 2, and I drew a little stick man dressed in black with sunglasses just absolutely mowing this person down with a machine gun.
So good. Yeah, this is I don't remember. This is 1991, so
yes.
That's about when I was forming memories. This is all to say, I don't remember a life without Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Oh, I'm old enough to remember pre T2 and then.
I guess I guess T2. I technically do remember, but at the same time it's all blur, right?
Right. But I
was born in '84, so I wasn't even 10 yet.
Yeah, I was old enough to vividly remember what a marketing juggernaut this was. It was everywhere, and there was merchandise everywhere, and there's all sorts of games and toys and posters and shit. It was just comic books. It was just everything a huge blockbuster release was. And I remember this being on par with what I had sort of secondhand gleaned from Batman coming out, because I wasn't quite old enough for Batman.
Right.
But and I also wasn't in America yet. We were still living in Germany, and then we moved back to the States that summer. So I only got the tail end of the Batman phenomena, but T2 was exactly like that.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah. It's part of my trilogy, or Trinity rather, which is I like if I got a face tattoo,
Yes.
like if I had to, it would be a Terminator tattoo, an Alien tattoo, or a Predator tattoo. Because I guess Jurassic Park is in there as well. But these three were really the things that made up my DNA as a kid. You know,
Yeah,
where
same.
it's like I was in my friend's basement, we were watching these movies on VHS.
Yep.
And Jurassic Park I can't include because I remember that happening to me. But this is like my resting state, you know. This is just Terminator, Alien, Predator. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking
That's I remember the first time I watched all of those movies.
It's in my blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in our blood. So we're gonna go through the plot, I guess.
Sure.
You know, it starts.
It's robots.
It starts in 2029 AD, which is soon. Tom.
Yeah, just around the corner, man.
It's way too soon. And
I mean, the way
Judgment
things are
Day happened
going,
in 97.
Maybe not a
we'll
wild
get there.
prediction. We'll get there. We'll get there. Don't worry, everyone.
We'll get to Skull Land. What a great opening! Fucking traffic, the humanity, like showing traffic is the first thing. I never think about that enough. Of just showing like our numbers, our humanity, and also like the problem at the same time, and a perfect. And then kids, and then skeletons. It's just what a good movie.
And the score, man. The score goes pretty hard.
Oh, it does. And I always try to remember. So, like, here's my first question. Obviously, a trailer was made for this, and I don't think James Cameron. I think James Cameron knew this was going to be the case. I always try to imagine someone who doesn't know that Arnold is good, because obviously he was bad in the first one, and the first part of this movie does hide that fact.
You mean he's a good guy, is what you mean?
Yeah, a
Yeah.
good guy. In the T-1000, because they hide like the T-1000 clearly kills that cop, but they hide to the severity of it. They don't want us to know what the T-1000 is, and they don't want to know necessarily if he's good or bad. Although I would say watching this, it's pretty clear. Right, I don't think it was a plot twist, but I do think
and the
he
marketing
withholds the details.
I knew all of that before going in to see this movie in the
Yeah,
theater.
the thing I wish that they didn't put in the trailer, which I assume they did, is I would love for no one to know what the T-1000 was and how it functioned.
No, they showed that off.
I know. I obviously they showed it off, but I think that would have been fucking.
That would have been
amazing.
cool. You'd have lost your mind seeing
Yeah.
that for the first time. Whoa,
Yeah.
what is this dude?
Because this is the height of this is when CGI was fascinating. The Abyss had already happened, so like the technology specifically to make the T-1000 was something James Cameron had done, but this is pre-Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
This was right when CGI was becoming a huge deal.
This was the big effects film before Jurassic Park came out.
Yeah, and this is incredible. Robert Patrick basically had to be like stripped down naked. Like I'm sure they told him right away. They're like, "Listen, we're gonna know every inch of your fucking body by the end of this."
Yeah.
Because they just made so many models of him and then CGI models, and like I hope he kept some of that shit. Like I hope he has
I
a
hope
fucking
so.
his.
I mean, I'd make that trade, right? Because that's like he's like the one of the most iconic villains in movies.
Yeah, I didn't know where to talk about this because he's technically a side character, but like come on, the T-1000 is the most terrifying fucking villain.
It is.
He is unstoppable.
It's
they
the
have to create.
coolest idea for a villain.
Yeah, they have to create incredible coincidences for him to be stopped.
They really have to pile up at the end there in order to bring this thing down.
Yeah, they defeat him like 4 times before it takes.
Yeah.
You know, like he is fucking unstoppable. It's a great fucking movie.
Right, because the whole thing is how do you recreate that feeling from the first movie? Because we've seen that, and we kind of know how the Terminator's pretty hard to overcome, but she does destroy it at the end. So it's like, how do you top that while still recreating the same feeling? Because it still has to be a Terminator movie, and that Jimmy Cams, he's got an imagination on him.
Sure does.
That T-1000 is the coolest fucking thing, man.
It really is. Perfect casting. I
Yeah,
know there were other people
Robert
in
Patrick
mind,
is
but
really pretty good at it.
he's great at
Yeah,
it.
it's an iconic performance in as much as as it is just a good idea for a character.
It really is. My fucking God. So you know the story, right? It takes place after Terminator. Sarah Connor is, she's...
She got locked up trying to
she
blow
got
up
locked up.
Cyberdyne.
I'm curious what the cops know, because they know, like, what happened at that police station, because they have security footage, we learned.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's weird. Like, what do they think happened? Like, they must be asking her all the time, like, can you just fucking tell? Like, they know she's probably not that crazy, right? Like,
yeah, it seems like they think he's some sort of accomplice of hers. Like, they really think she's
right.
Like a crackpot terrorist who tried to blow up a robotics lab because she has visions of the future. But yeah, you're right.
But they also never really see this invincible man.
Right, like they're never really clear on who they think he is.
Right. And I don't think they know,
the thing
right?
she's been telling them.
Yeah. We have John Connor and his foster parents, which we'll talk
talk
about. And then we have Dyson in his lab with his I've always noticed this, but I never registered it, that his lab has a dinosaur model in it.
It does.
Yeah, and this was the first time I was like, wait, why?
It's just set deck, I think.
Yeah, it's just like, I get it. Dinosaurs are cool.
This scene is like a recreation of the cut scene from Aliens, where you see the colonists before they get taken over.
It really is,
the director's cut. Some of the dialogue is the same. Like when Dyson and that guy have that exchange about, well, when I ask something, it takes 2 weeks to get an answer, and the answer is always don't ask. Like that line verbatim is in the Alien scene.
It's very James Cameron of him. You're right. That's like part of his fucking secret sauce, and it works so well.
I guess
like,
it's
show this shit way early.
Yeah. And it's funny that he just kind of recreated that scene almost because like the Aliens director's cut was maybe on Laserdisc at this point, but otherwise I think nobody really had seen that scene before.
I've said this before.
Yeah.
I prefer the director's cut of Aliens, but I understand that scene isn't necessary.
It's not.
It isn't. You don't. This one, they work it in well because it's when they're talking to Sarah Connor about, and so part of you
leads
is like
from them saying, well, they never found any of that evidence, and then it shows cut to Miles Dyson, he has the evidence,
right? And like obviously it's doing work for the plot, but like it sneaks it in where you're like that scene could exist on its own if Miles Dyson never came back in the movie, because they're just showing like, oh yeah, they totally have it.
Yeah, they have it.
But obviously, this is all around that. The big idea is that, unlike the first Terminator, the other, I would say, twist is that there's a point, and I wish I could watch this for the first time because I don't think it necessarily occurs to people that you could change the future. And that's that's like kind of the twist, which is like we're just trying to get away from this Terminator, like the first one, and then it's like, wait, what if we actually tried to change all of this from happening?
Yeah.
Which creates
that's not an option really in the first movie.
Right. Not really. And I'm not sure. So like, what are the time travel rules? Because they have the paradox.
I don't know. It's so they have a couple of paradoxes. Well, the first one with Kyle Reese.
Kreese, yeah, Kreese
from fucking Karate Kid.
Yeah.
And being John Connor's father, and then also
that's the loudest
one.
Yeah.
But also, there's like the Terminator getting smashed is what Dyson uses to build Skynet.
Skynet. Yes. And so that's the extra paradox.
Yeah.
So this is So my assumption is that that's a Back to the Future then timeline, right? Which is meaning that it creates alternate timelines.
Mm-hmm.
That's how there's no like singular timeline that is being altered. It's a parallel universe situation.
Or as
it's got to be.
Michael Keaton explains in the new Flash movie, he just throws a bunch of spaghetti in a bowl.
Right. Yes. It's spaghetti. That's got to be it, right? Because otherwise, the moment they throw the stuff away at the end, they should all vanish. But it's hard to tell. It's got to be multiple timelines because that explains the paradoxes.
Yeah,
that's still like confusing because it's like it means that you could argue they didn't save their future. You know what I mean? Like they sent someone back in time to create a new timeline, but their timeline never goes away.
They apparently didn't, judging by what happens in Terminator 3. But I mean,
Yeah, but if
But-
we pretend there's no movie after 2, which I often do,
that's the best thing. That's the healthiest thing to do.
they should notice like we didn't vanish when we threw everything away. So that means that like we are just in a new timeline. And of course, you've seen the original ending to this movie, which was old Sarah Connor watching John Connor and his daughter.
Yeah.
So like they were going to seal that idea.
I like
But-
that he left it open ended
I do too,
because
but
that's
it-
kind of the point of the movie. No fate.
exactly. But it is clearly they created another timeline, right?
Yeah.
Like the future that sent them all back in time. They're sitting around being like, "Fuck, man, it's another timeline, isn't it? Like we still exist.
Damn
This
it.
sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, this didn't help us.
We did all that for nothing.
Yeah, it's like, well, you
So
created
these
an
other
alternate-
assholes can have a good life.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's ultimately what happened. And that kind of sucks for them.
Yeah, it does a little bit.
All right. So yeah, that's the story of
Pretty
Terminator
much.
2.
We got
I have
there,
a bunch
I
of
guess.
I have a bunch of random questions just rewatching this.
Well,
Um,
do we need to go through beat by beat? Do you think?
No,
Or-
no.
yeah.
I just have like notes. Like I just have to note that this amazing special effects. Never not funny seeing the T-1000 dummy hanging from that car. Never not funny to me.
It's very funny.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily like unrealistic. It's just clearly a dummy and it's
No,
funny.
it's just funny because it looks like truck nuts dangling off the back, and it's just this man with little hook arms
Yeah,
just dangling off the back.
yeah.
It's very funny.
It is really funny. There's a scene that I didn't think about that is really nitpicky, but I just have to. It's not a plot hole. I just have a question. They're driving, and it's before she decides to kill Miles Dyson. The Terminator says to her that he has detailed files on him, and she says, "I want to know everything." And then presumably she does know everything because she goes to kill him.
Yeah.
I just have a simple question. How does that information pass between them? Does he have a little printer on his chest? Does he
Hope so.
talk? Does
like
he
one of
say
those
it?
really old dot matrix printers?
Right. Like, does he just tell her everything and she has to memorize it? Does he write it down for her?
Yeah.
Because it presumably happens on the car ride. That's all. That's my question.
What I bet happens is she's like, "Tell me everything." And he's like, "Miles Dyson was born in this." You know what? Just tell me where he lives. Okay.
Yeah. I assume that's got to be it, right?
Yeah. She gave up real quick because he will tell her everything. He's a robot.
And then it's funny that it takes them a beat to realize what she went to do when he's like, she's going to blow him away. And he says, like, it has to be it. And it's like, considering this scene and what must have happened, where she's like, just tell me where he lives.
Yeah.
Like, obviously.
Well,
obviously.
and earlier in the movie, he's like, "Negative. The T-1000 would definitely try to reacquire you there because I would." It's like, so
Yeah.
you can think like you can mine hunter the fucking T-1000, but you can't put yourself into Sarah's shoes. Why would she want Miles Dyson's information?
Right. Another scene that must have happened
Yeah, fucking
is John
robot.
Connor.
Anyway, yeah, beat boop.
Another must have happened is another car scene. When John Connor and Terminator were going to help Miles, they must have been like, okay, you're going to rip off your arm. Like that just happens because they nod to each other. So that's
no, he
clearly
hands him a
something
knife
planned
and
in-
says, "Show him."
yeah. So like,
That
it'd be
could have
really
meant
funny
a
if
lot
you,
of things.
it'd be really funny if he was like, show him. Terminator's like, fucking what? No, God, no. It hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts every time. Or yeah, he whips out his dick or something. They're like, what? No, show him
Yeah.
your arm. Like
Look
it
at a
really,
hammer on him.
it's a really bold thing to do if
What
they
if
didn't
they
talk
did
about it in
give all
advance.
the Terminators just huge dicks?
Oh yeah, I was thinking the scene where he shows up naked. I always imagine he's fully erect the whole time. Because they just didn't give him like a flaccid option, you know? They're just
No,
like,
it's
yeah,
gonna be rock hard.
yeah. That's the optimal position for a dick, and they didn't have time to like make it too complicated, so he's just fully erect. Because he does have a dick,
Yeah.
which is funny for me on a lot of levels. Which is that they're infiltration machines. All right. I think I know what happened. So the infiltration machines, I think the ones that they're originally for the war, right? To get
Yeah.
into the bases. There's at least several scenes that show that.
Yeah.
I don't think those had dicks. I
Maybe
think
not.
they weren't. I don't think they thought like they're gonna fuck their way in. They're gonna like have a life, you know. I don't think those had dicks. I think when they travel back in time, they realize they have to be naked to do it. And they're like, that's the point where they're like, we better give them dicks because otherwise it's going to look dumb. And they won't be able to infiltrate, right? Like they'll immediately be spotted as like a machine if they are this Ken dolls. So they're like, that's when we give them dicks. I think that's what it is.
That's when the dicks come in the picture. You don't want to print unnecessary dicks.
Yeah, and I like to think they're working. In fact, if we take their later movies as canon, Dark Fate implies he holds down a marriage. And let me tell you, he's got to be fucking, right?
Yeah.
In that marriage?
Yeah, she's
so
fucking that
dick
robot.
Works. Yeah, it has fake jizz. Like Data.
I think we talked about that on the Dark Fate when we just watched.
We
on Dark
must
Fate.
have. So that's where we're at with his dick. That's
Yeah,
I'm glad
we landed on this. I'm glad we got there.
Yeah. Let's see. I have notes about just James Cameron. That dream sequence, man.
Yeah,
I keep thinking
that
about
thing is so intense.
That's one of the most groundbreaking moments in cinema, in my opinion, because it's so.
It is blasted into my memory, pun intended.
It really is.
Like, it is inextricable from my mind.
And I think where it happens is beautiful because they foreshadow it. They have her describe it to Silverman.
Yeah.
And like they could have easily done that sequence early on and like really gotten people going,
Yeah.
but it's sort of this moment. It's like a lull in the story, not really, but you know what I mean, where it's like, now what? You know, they're going to Mexico. Things seem to be kind of settling, and they just like slap the audience, like, wake up, here we fucking go.
Right,
we're
like
entering Act 3.
You remember kind of what it is just in time for it to happen, so you get smacked in the face with the horror of it.
So good. And originally they had Michael Biehn in that sequence, and I do think it was right to cut the other dream sequences out, because I think she originally had a earlier dream with Michael Biehn, and then
She's
the
in
dream
the hospital.
Yeah, and then it continues. No, it's so much better to just do this because you don't know what the fuck's going to happen. You haven't seen a dream sequence before. So fucking good. Just, I mean, we're telling people things they already know.
Yeah,
but yeah,
you guys have seen Terminator 2. Come on now.
Yeah.
And if you haven't, go watch it. It's really good.
Yeah. I also want to point out that James Cameron does an amazing job at making things look dangerous, which I feel like movies don't do enough anymore. Like when she's in a shootout with the cops and she's running and she leaps, she's in Cyberdyne and she like hurts herself landing. And it's because she's running because she doesn't want to get shot. Every time the Terminator is about to blow something up, they're like, get down. And they have to fucking hide. Like, I feel like movies don't do that work anymore, which is like when there's an explosion, when there's a gunshot, people act like when Miles Dyson gets hurt, he looks like he's gonna fucking die. He's pale. He's desperately holding on to every breath. It's just so, James Cameron's like, so on top of his game with that shit.
Yeah.
That it just feels so huge, even though all they really do is blow up a building.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and that is big, but that's the point. Like compared to movies today, it's not that big.
Yeah, that's true. But it's all about scale and stakes, man.
Yeah, it's just so fucking good.
It is good. It's real good, man. It's real good.
Yeah. I had a couple more random observations. I can't get over how dumb it is to shoot the frozen T-1000. Terminator should know better. He should know better.
Should have picked him up and carried him over to the lead and thrown him
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. If anything, he should have been like, okay, let's go, because it's going to take him fucking hours to thaw out.
Yeah.
But shooting him was a very dumb move. And then the final thing is, I just like thinking about this movie is if they never made any more, John and Sarah Connor are still pretty fucked. Like, I don't think Mexico is going to save them. Yeah. I think even Mexico, they'd be like, oh, we'll bring them back for you.
Yeah, they'd have to live forever. And I think that it is what they tell us in Dark Fate, right? I can't quite remember. But yeah, they'd have to flee the country.
Oh, yeah, but I think even then it wouldn't help them. I think they'd be like Osama bin Laden.
Right, yeah.
Like, yeah, you're on a list. We're working with other countries.
I mean, that's true. They blew
They
up.
killed a lot of people. Yeah,
that's true. They did. He shot a lot of cops.
Yeah, he didn't kill those cops.
That Terminator shot a lot of people.
This technically goes in the best side characters, but I also never get over the end, which is that the cops basically go, "You win." They shoot at the cops at Cyberdyne, and then they go on a chase, and the cops never pursue. And that's just very funny to me that I'm imagining the cops on the radio like, they win. Let them do the crime.
Yeah, let them
Like,
do whatever it is they're doing. They
Yeah.
steal a police truck. And they're like,
Yeah.
let them have it.
Yeah, it's theirs. They earned it. Like, the cops just bounce at the end of this.
Yeah,
It's
they
so
disappear.
funny.
They get their asses beat so bad at Cyberdyne, they go home for the rest of the movie.
They really do.
That's funny. I've never thought about that before.
Oh yeah, well we did a cracked about cops who like dropped the ball, and I think I put it on that list of like at the end of Terminator 2, the cops really do just stop.
Yeah,
they just
they
quit
give
being.
up.
Yeah, that's very funny.
They beat
That's
our
very
asses too
funny.
bad. They shot all of
Yeah.
our cars.
Yeah, because the movie goes on for like a half hour more.
There's still
and
a
it's like-
solid chunk of movie left.
yeah,
after
and
that.
there's tons of witnesses, and they're all calling the cops, and the cops are probably like, "Yeah, we know. Just get out of their way."
more people
whatever
get
they're doing.
killed.
Yeah,
He kills the truck driver.
yeah. It's it's
T-1000
bad
does it.
policing.
Yeah, not great police work.
Yeah,
This is why we need to send robots from the future, because you guys aren't doing your job.
exactly. Should we talk about what technically not Arnold?
Yes, we should.
As we said, this is peak Arnold. This is about Arnold the actor.
Yeah, his performance, his skills, his character in this film.
Yeah. He's walking a real interesting line, I think.
I think this version of the. I've always thought the Terminator was a fun character. In the first movie, he's fun for all the reasons that a robotic villain is fun. That's a fun character to play.
Yeah.
But this movie does. I think this character's really interesting in this movie because there's a bit of a. They do the machine learning thing where he can learn things and he actually grows and becomes a surrogate father for John towards the end of the movie, and they have like a genuinely heartbreaking goodbye at the end. It's like fucking
Yeah.
Old Yeller.
I think
Having to
it
lower
really
Old
is.
Yeller into the steel.
It's genuinely sad. Yeah.
It's a good
Yeah.
performance. It's
Out
really
of-
good.
I wrote this down. Out of context, there's something very funny about a character dispassionately lowering themselves in lava while half apologizing to a crying kid.
Yeah.
Where he's just like,
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Like, out of context, it's a very funny thing
The
to
fact
do.
that it's the fact that it's been memed to death deservedly, I think, because it's a bit much.
The thumbs
But
up.
the thumbs up.
Yeah. At the time, it was fine, but it is very
Yeah,
sad.
it was powerful at the moment, but it is,
Yeah.
removed
This is-
from being swept up in the awesomeness of it at the time of its release. It is a little silly.
Yeah, this is a movie where I do kind of curse that they didn't release the director's cut because they explain more in the director's cut why Arnold's has the arc he has. Because they reset his processor in the director's cut to make him learn. And they also have a scene where he practices smiling, which honestly explains why later he smiles. Because otherwise you're like, well, he doesn't smile. He's a Terminator.
Oh,
But
think
there's specifically a scene where they teach him to smile in the director's cut.
I never had that. That's cool. That never tripped me up because
Yeah, I
the movie,
mean,
the
I don't
movie
think it
does it in. It illustrates it in other ways, like John teaching him slang and stuff, and him learning.
Yeah.
So you sort of assume like when he's like smirking at the end, it's like, oh, he's learning. Like you're
Right.
getting like excited about his arc.
It's clear they didn't need it because the movie was a
Right, 'cause
success.
the movie fucking
But-
rocks.
Yeah,
So-
but that scene was a really cool effect, obviously, with Linda Hamilton's twin and the mirror effect. But it also explains why John is starting to teach him suddenly, is because they just made him teachable. So, like, it just, I liked that detail. But yeah, obviously. In terms of performance, this to me is, I think this is what they've been chasing with Arnold for many movies. What I mean by that is Arnold always played the straight man who doesn't get the joke, right? Red Heat, Kindergarten Cop, Twins. It's all this very serious man not getting the joke or dealing with a
Or
silly thing.
It's a version of that. Yeah.
Yes. He's serious. The person around him isn't. This, he's a literal robot. And it's peak that what they were chasing. When he's like, you can't kill people. And he's like, why? And he just
Why?
keeps saying it over and over again. That's
It's a
perfect.
perfect delivery.
Yeah, it's the right amount of he's like a murder robot. And this kid is trying to explain to him that he can't kill people. And Arnold, to his credit, like, I think people would think of this as like, you don't have to do much for this role. I think he had to do tons because I think he had to show a full arc while acting emotionless for the most
Right.
part.
But
So it's about, like-
limiting himself in a lot of ways emotionally, but still completing that arc.
Yeah. And then I don't think people realize, this is another thing where I want to watch it again. I don't think when you're watching it, like, yeah, it probably doesn't occur to you, like, he can die. Like, in this movie, in fact, he has to die. That's the beautiful part about his death, is that it's staring you in the face the whole movie, and you don't realize, like, oh, right, he has to die for this to work. And it makes it really good. He also allows him to get his ass kicked in this.
Oh, yeah. He gets fucked up bad by the end of the movie. He looked so ragged at the end.
It's sad to think that a movie like this, if they made this today with The Rock, it wouldn't be good, because The Rock would say, like, I can't get my ass kicked. He gets his ass kicked by a skinny little guy, by Robert Patrick, because that's what makes it matter.
Robert Patrick, the T-1000 dismantles him every time they go toe-to-toe.
And you realize, like, how badly that can get, where he can rip off an arm and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, you can't repair this man now. Like, that's the other realization, is like, he is done. And it's sad. Like, you watch it happen slowly over this scene, and it's Arnold knowing that the movie's bigger than him, and you got to tell the right story. And it's like, yeah, he has to be the underdog. He's big and tough Arnold, and they give him scenes like that. But ultimately, the bad guy he has to beat him out of luck.
Yeah,
like he has to sucker punch him, basically.
It's teamwork too. It's Sarah and the Terminator. And there's a bit earlier where he has his Iron Giant moment when the score builds and swells. It's when they walk out of Cyberdyne, and he leaves them in the elevator. He's like, "Okay, I'm going to take care of the cops." And John says, "You can't kill anybody," and he says, "Trust me."
Yeah.
And then and it's like, this is kind of like the beginning of that idea we're talking about, is he just wades through the bullets, and you're seeing him it's taking his face off, it's taking all his skin off, and you're like, no, but like the music's swelling, because it's kind of like his Iron Giant, I Am Superman moment, where he just wades into the damage, and he takes them out just by pulling their gas masks off.
Yeah.
They've dumped
and
tear
shooting them in the
everywhere.
foot.
And shooting some of them in the foot, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
fun go to.
It's the beginning of that idea where you're just seeing him take this abuse rather than dish it out. And it's also like part of that arc that he's having. It's such a good moment. And it leads into what you're talking about, where like you're seeing him get taken apart. And you're just like, it's like when you're watching a character that you're worried about in the movie, and they're taking more and more damage, and it gets to a point where you kind of know they're cooked.
Yeah, where you know, like this person.
Fuck, I don't think they're coming back from this.
Yeah, it's perfect, and it's all part of this arc of a robot.
Yeah,
who
has
just
to
programmed,
be destroyed. Yeah,
he's programmed to do well. That's what's beautiful. He's programmed just to follow orders at the beginning, and his arc is that he learns why this is important. That by the end, I know why you cry.
Yeah.
Like he learns, and to the point that at the end, he's the one who has to bring it up. Neither of them realize it, and he's like, "No, we're not done. You have to kill me." He didn't have to do that. His programming,
he could have just
kept
that to himself.
His programming is to protect John Connor. That's it.
Yeah.
So it's like the fact that like this side mission, he is like, at first he's like, well, negative. This is a bad idea.
Bad idea to go get.
But once he realizes what's at stake, he's like in it. And then and it's a very subtle arc that has to happen, but it does happen to the point that like you might not even notice it at first. That in the beginning of this movie, he's ready to just kill people without thinking about it. And then by the end, he understands the value of human life.
Yeah, but I like that there is a bit of a question there, because as you pointed out, it is still him just fulfilling his programming.
Right.
So he has to defend John Connor at any cost, including his own destruction.
Yeah.
So you do have a tiny bit of a question: does he really understand the importance of what he's doing, or has he learned to behave like a human, but he's really in the background, he's still just a program.
Right, I love that, because the
Yeah.
last thing we see is his POV, and it's like, he is still just a fucking robot.
Yep.
At the end, and I love that. He runs on iOS, I believe. That's an Easter egg. I love that shit with Data as well, and like Ex Machina, where you still have to ask the question, like, as human as they act, are they just programmed to act this way?
Right.
Like, it's weird. The DS9 does a really good a character that's very weird for Star Trek, which is a lounge singer who has way too many episodes in the holodeck. and he's a holodeck character that they casually made self-aware. And you kind of wonder with him, where it's like he knows he's a holodeck character, but does that necessarily make him self-aware, right? Knowing that you are artificial and acting like you know that, and acting like emotional because you're programmed to. It's like, when does that actually become?
Yeah.
Terminator is exploring that very subtly. They're not calling huge attention to it.
No, it's just sort of subtly there.
But him saying, I know now why you cry, but that's something I can't do. That's the sort of thing where it's like, why would a robot fucking say that?
Yeah.
That's a haunting thing for a robot to say.
It is.
Most of the time, if Siri said that to me, I would break my phone.
Yeah,
that's
that's the scariest shit that comes out of his mouth.
Yeah. There's a Star Trek where Data says, I think I'm losing my mind. And that's where you beam them into space. We're like, nope, code Hal. We got to code Hal.
Get him out of here. Everybody off the Enterprise.
Yeah, we're done. But yeah, in this context, it's a perfect ending, which is like, it seems like he truly has gained something. But you never quite know because he's still playing it like a robot.
Yeah.
It's a good performance.
It is. It really is.
Yeah, it doesn't require that much, but here's what I'll say, is that other people playing Terminators in other movies don't achieve this. They just sort of copy things. And that's not just the actor's fault, it's also the director's. Like Terminator 3, Arnold's still good, but there's nothing wrong with this actress, but she's basically doing the T-1000. And that's the thing about this movie is like, it's kind of the last time where the Terminators have like unique personalities that feel like the
distinct.
T-1000 as well. Yeah. And then everybody sort of copies that after.
I love also, I guess I don't know where this would have gone, but I guess it's appropriate here because we're talking about the character. I love how when they fight, it becomes like two sharks almost, but like, because they don't say anything. They don't make any noise whatsoever. It's just them, like their eyes get very fixated on each other, and they're just wailing on each other like as hard as they can.
Yeah, I never think about the fact that they don't make noise, but that is really haunting.
They don't make any noise. They don't like grunt or anything. They're robots.
Right, why would they? Yeah.
So it's just these two things. They just lock onto each other like a cat seeing a bird, and they just hammer each other, and it's noiseless except for the destruction they're causing. It's really cool. A really cool thing to do.
It's little details like that it's like such good directing.
Yeah.
Like, of course they don't make noise, right? Of course. Should we do definitely not Arnold, our best side characters?
We should do definitely not Arnold. Obviously.
This is a mile long.
There's so many heroes in this. Obviously, T-1000 is the best.
Well, yeah, my first note is like, do we even count him?
Should we? That's almost not fair. Like, because he's clearly he's the best character in the movie.
I do have a question about T-1000.
Sure.
What do you think he feels like as the goo?
Oh, probably like Mercury, right?
Yeah, when I watch DS9, Odo, I think is like oily and unpleasant. T-1000,
probably
I feel
real fleshy, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like he's actually more like warm and soft, like velvety. I kind of want to drink him, but like obviously you shouldn't.
You could drink him.
I feel like he's warm, like he's probably radioactive. Like he's probably leaving
they're
terrible
both. I'm sure
trail.
they're both radioactive as hell.
Yeah. So like it's a bad
Just
kind of warm.
Scalding the earth with each step they take.
Yeah. Miles Dyson, it's hard. Joe Morton does a great job at looking like he's seconds away from dying. And he has
really
the
does.
best I'm bleeding out, I'm gonna die face. And he gets to show it multiple times because multiple times he is almost dying. When he's attacked by Sarah Connor, he's also almost dying.
Yeah, she almost murders him in his home in front of his family.
He has a terrible night.
This is the worst day of his life, and then it ends with him getting shot and exploding.
Yeah, he was just having a quiet evening, and then literally in the evening he explodes. His family, I mean, he's lucky he explodes because otherwise he'd be in jail for life. His family who show up in the Sarah Connor Chronicles, by the way, Danny and his wife. But they're going to have to deal with like what happened to him. He did a terrorism and exploded randomly. I mean, they know why. Because
they saw the Terminator arm.
More like other people are going to be like, what happened to them?
He gave his life saving the future.
Yeah, so just that trauma family that just gets fucking ruined by this film.
Oh yeah,
They're having the
yeah.
kids just playing with his fucking car. Everything's
Yep.
different.
Dad's working at home tonight, and then
Yep.
2 hours later he explodes.
Yeah, that is their life is over.
Yep.
Yeah.
That family's ruined.
Yep.
Man, Todd and Janelle.
Todd, I have Todd for the win. He's America's stepdad.
He's such a he's a king dipshit. He's such the
Yeah.
He left right off the page when they said dipshit stepdad.
Yeah, I mean, it's Sandra Berkeley. He's so good
Yeah,
at
Sandra
this.
Berkeley. He's the greatest dipshit.
Yeah. I love how John Connor does not care when they're dead. He moves right on.
Oh
from
yeah,
that.
he does not care about them at all.
Yeah. Todd, of course, spent an evening with T1000 cooking dinner. And I think that's funny.
At least several minutes, right?
Yeah, he at least kissed the T1000. I
Almost
like
certainly, because she's sitting there making dinner, and then we learn that it's been the T1000. So the T1000 is in disguise as Janelle cooking spaghetti.
Right. I also wrote down that they're terrible foster parents because when the T1000 shows up looking for him, they're like, the biker was here earlier. And it's like, and that didn't concern you? Like, they just happened to mention it to the cop, and it's like, you'd think they'd call the cops.
What's funny is I think I reflected on this after I made the comment about the thumbs up being silly before. The way this movie treats John in a lot of situations, particularly the way like his foster parents are so like, oh, what's he done this time? And yeah, this biker came around to ask him, John gets into trouble a lot. We can't control him. He's like 11, isn't he?
He's supposed to be 10, and that's one of the biggest problems. That's probably the biggest problem with the movie is that they should have bumped him up to like 15.
Right, because they're behaving like he's a teenager.
And he looks like a teenager.
Yeah.
And it is like, he's not 10. Sorry, he's not 10. He's just not.
He's not.
He's the coolest 10-year-old who ever lived.
Yeah, he's rad. He has his own motorcycle. He hangs out with Butnick, or what's his name? Budnick from Salute Shorts?
Yeah, who
Danny
I also
Cooksey.
have written down as Ginger 80s kid.
Yeah, that
Perfect.
kid rocks.
And in his point of view, his Betty John Connor just vanished off the face of the earth. I guess after a bunch of terrorism happened. I love that they take him to the terrorism, John Connor. And I know they don't really have any other choice, but it's still funny that they're walking with a kid to go do terrorism.
Yeah, it's bring the kid.
Obviously,
Couldn't find a
we're not
sitter.
talking about John and Sarah Connor because they're actually the main characters. Arnold is technically a side character, I feel like, even though he's the titled character.
Yeah, I feel like that's true.
Also on Todd, shout out to the cops who find his body and have to figure out what happened.
What happened to him?
Apparently, someone with
I
a
guess
sword
we're looking for a
stabbed him
sword.
through the-
Yeah.
Yep, but he was drinking milk, so he didn't see it coming. How
Got
did he not see it
blindsided
coming?
by a sword attack mid milk carton chug.
Yeah, there is generally, I wrote this throughout, there is a whole fucking group of cops and detectives who are having to figure this out, who, Lord help them. So many people's lives are just changed immediately by the T1000. Like that semi driver who's driving, and then a cop runs into his truck and throws him out. He's going to have that story forever about the time a cop got into his truck and threw him out.
No,
Helicopter
I think he kills
pilot.
that guy.
Does he?
He kills the truck
it's hard to
driver.
tell.
The helicopter pilot jumps out.
No, not the one at the end. The one at the mall.
Oh, that guy he does throw out of the car.
Yeah, that one. Because he's dressed like a cop, and it's just like what is that? What is that man's story? The helicopter pilot also is going to have to.
This guy was running. This cop ran 40 miles an hour, jumped up
Yeah.
onto my cab, and threw me into the street.
It's not like there's only so many people who can be like it was trauma, you know. Like Dr. Silverman, who has probably the best arc of the series because he's in T3, just being haunted by robots.
Yeah.
He gets fucked up.
He really
gets-
thought he understood how the universe worked.
Yeah, he is packed to the gills with both physical and emotional trauma because Sarah Connor ruins him physically.
Yeah, I don't feel too much sympathy because he's so
No.
excited in the first movie about making his career on her.
Oh yeah, he's a slime ball.
Yeah, so it's
but
like, all right, man.
it's
Here
very
you go.
funny how ruined this man gets.
Oh, yeah.
throughout the-
He does.
Yeah. So the bikers, I still like. I get it's weird to pick a fight with a naked swole guy. I understand that
They should have
win
fucked
it.
him up in that situation.
Yeah,
Like
The
they
one
open
that-
up by hitting him with a pool cue and stabbing him.
Yeah, the one that actually really baffles me is the guy at the end with the shotgun. Can't you let you take the man's wheels? And it's like, let him take the man's wheels. Did you not see what he just did? Like, that's the guy who I'm like, who do you think
that
you
the
are?
only thing they haven't tried at that point is guns. So maybe he was like,
Right.
maybe.
I would say maybe, but I'd say like, you know what? Take the bike. Take the bike. It's yours. You won this bike.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a code the bikers can respect.
Yeah.
Well, he whooped you fair and square. He threw you onto that grill.
Yep. Shout out to the dude standing in the hallway with his soda while a gunfight.
That poor dude just trying to get a Pepsi, and he gets lit up through the Pepsi.
Here's what I'll say. Arnold fires a shot, and then they cut to T-1000 firing a shot, and the guy is still standing when he gets shot. And I was like, why is that man not ducking down? Like, a shotgun has already gone off.
Maybe he thought it was a flash mob.
Maybe. It's possible. Shout out to whoever sold the Terminator that rose, or those roses.
Yeah. the box of roses for his sawed-off shotgun.
Yeah.
Did he bring the gun with him?
I assume he did. I don't think he sold him those roses.
No, probably not. Yeah, they're not showing us a lot of his activities before he makes it to John Connor, so we can still like the robot, I suppose.
Yeah.
He tortured a lot of people before he finds John Connor.
Oh, yeah. Shout out, of course, to the hospital guard, who the last thing he ever sees is himself. He dies confused.
Yeah.
The beefcakes.
What a haunting final image. Yes, the two beefcakes that come to John's aid, and then John is such a dick to them.
Yeah. And then they almost get murdered.
They almost get murdered for it.
Now.
What a whirlwind that 30 seconds was. They were just two dudes talking after a good workout. This kid screaming for, hey, let's go be good Samaritans. They come to help him, and the kid calls them fuckers, basically. He says, take a hike, losers. And they call him a brat, so his pet Hulk almost murders them both.
Right. They probably went home and they were just in tears. Like, they're probably terrified.
Yeah. Those guys never went back to that gym.
Right. Another side one is the garage cop who Arnold casually throws into a post, who I know John Connor's like, no murdering anybody. That guy is going to have to be taken care of the rest of his life, I'm pretty sure.
That guy's blind.
Yeah. I don't think...
like, his eye came out when that happened.
Yeah. Good old Carl Gibbons, the security guard, who they try to trick, which is just very funny, that he's just like, come on, guys. You're here with like a giant biker and a child. Gardening truck hippie.
They cripple him for life. They blow his kneecaps out.
Yep. Yeah, they sure do. Gardening truck hippie who,
Oh, I love that guy. When he jumps over the wall media.
Just having a fun night. He has, I feel
Sounds
like he has
a Gwildor from Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, he really does. Him and, of course, the Ginger, two best noises. Him going, woo! And then the Ginger going, on the bike.
When they're listening to the Axl Rose song.
Such a weird noise to make.
And that kid, Danny Cooksey.
Yeah. And my final thing
does not snitch.
Not a snitch. Yeah, oh yeah, he's great. Those poor steel workers who are for some reason working the night shift, which I was like, surely they can shut down at night.
Oh, actually, this was explained to me as they do this during the night because it's such a pull on the power grid.
Oh, it's also cooler, I bet.
Yes,
so
that probably is a factor as well. But yeah,
all right.
That apparently is a thing.
Still poor steel workers because they're
just trying to fucking work, man. And then what is two robots from the future are fighting? Do you know how dangerous this building is?
Yeah.
Can you take your robot fight outside, please?
And they must have at least seen him get frozen. Like, they might not have seen him come back because they were running. But I always imagine
a truck crashed there.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out. I would be out the window.
I do think it's funny that no one's like, are you guys okay? They're just like, nope, it's just too volatile of a situation. We need to run as...
Have you ever seen these like factory accident videos? I would run so fast.
I'm guessing they ran as fast as they could, got to a safe distance, and then just watched. And was like, something's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm expecting that place going to blow up.
Yeah. There's just so many...
My wallet's back in there.
I'm not going back.
Maybe it won't blow up.
Yeah. but I kind of want it to blow up. There's just so many people.
I don't want to go to work. I want to have tomorrow off, so hopefully it explodes. Miraculously, it doesn't.
We don't see that is going to have to deal with just the fucking.
This is a rampage that they went.
Yeah.
Like they saved
There's
the
gonna
future,
be-
yes, but like there's a wake of destruction following them.
There's going to be a lot of witnesses who are like, I think I saw two demons fight. And then there's going to be a bunch of crime scene people. Like that robot arm that he leaves in the thing. Did he go get that again? Remember when he rips his arm off?
Yeah, no, that's still in there.
Yeah, so someone's going to find that. It's not quite enough to make a new Cyberdyne because the chip's not there. I always thought that was going to come into play in T3 because I always was like, oh, you forgot that. You forgot the arm. But like, it's just, I don't know what
Maybe it
people
gets
are going to think of this.
pulverized by the rest of the gears, I suppose.
I suppose. Or like a cop brings it home for their kid.
Yeah. I found this weird ass robot arm for you.
Yeah, there's just going to be so many questions.
It's just a
Like,
cup holder in some dipshit's house.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to go all the way to the president, because he's going to be like, I'm hearing reports about like demons and robots. We need to get to the fucking bottom of what happened. Which again is why I think Sarah Connor, there's no escaping, because they're like, we need to talk to her so bad, if only because we have no fucking idea what happened.
Yeah, this is one of the most chilling mysteries in the country's history.
Yeah, what's going to happen? The FBI is going to pick her up, and she's going to be like, robots from the future, and they're going to look at all their files, and they go, yeah, that actually makes sense. Like,
Weirdly, this all adds up.
Yeah, everything we're reading here about a liquid metal man, and like, yeah, okay, we're going to write that
Robots
down.
from the future would explain all of this.
It really would. It's kind of the only explanation. Any other side characters?
Oh, I think we got them all.
Yeah,
I do love that helicopter pilot.
he's amazing.
He saw that like you said, demon pour in through his helicopter. It's like, you know what? It's only about
when he says
38
get out,
feet up. I'm just gonna jump.
Yeah, he weighed he did a very good job at doing a very hard calculation in his head.
Yeah,
very
that is
fast.
a brutal calculation, and you don't have a
where he's
lot of
like-
time to make it.
Yeah, because the liquid metal man alone, I'd be like, well, maybe they're an angel, but then he goes, get out, and then you're like, okay.
All right,
So
and then
he doesn't want
he
me
grows
here.
a face and says, "Get out."
Yeah, and it's like, okay, well then I should probably listen to
All
him.
right, so I have a decision to make. I can ask him if he would mind landing first, see how
Yep.
that goes, or I can
Yep.
just jump out. And he
Yeah,
opts for that.
the T-1000 is being extremely nice because like he
It's
mostly just kills
miraculously, really.
people. Yeah, the T-1000 basically what's happening is T-1000 calculated it'll take me a second longer to dispose his body after I kill him. So it would be easier to just say get out and then the problem will solve itself.
Yeah.
That's what he's calculating.
Yeah, so I'm not sure he survives that fall.
Yeah. It would be so funny if he stayed in there with the T-1000 and the T-1000 just let him. Because it's like, it takes, like, I'm chasing this guy. I'll kill you later. But right now, I just need to fucking...
It's taking too much time, yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, that guy
What
is
must
a
the
hero.
people what must all the cops on the ground, because you see them all running towards the guy where he's dropped anyway. So what did that look like to the cops on the ground?
I mean, sure
This
they were
man
like,
leapt
what the
onto the
fuck?
helicopter, headbutted his way inside. And
Honestly,
just
I would
jumped
understand
out.
why the pilot jumped out after
Yeah.
that. Because to them, they think this is a guy on PCP or
Yeah,
something.
that is
Yeah, either way, you're getting out.
it's
If
a
that
real
was a
freak
mortal,
up there.
yeah, if that was just a man who crawled into your helicopter after jumping on it,
I might be
would
more
still get out.
frightened if it was a
Yeah.
man that did that.
For sure.
Just pushes his way inside, just all bleeding and exposed bone. I'd
Yeah.
be more frightened.
Absolutely.
So this
guy-
guy is on a mission.
Yeah, that guy can write a book about this. Like, that is an experience.
Yeah. And he's
well-
never going to have an explanation for what that was.
No, he never will. No one's going to
Again,
be...
assuming
he'll-
he
again,
lived.
The government will interview him
Way
and
to
they'll be like,
drop.
what was that? And they'll be like, do you know? Because we don't. We don't know what that was.
What do you
either.
think it was? Do you have any ideas? You got it. We've been kicking a few things around.
Listen, we are having trouble with this one.
Yeah, we can't connect these dots.
Yeah. Should we get into the most Arnold?
Oh man.
I have a very specific one.
Okay.
And it's kind of it's not what you'd expect. Because obviously, Hasta La Vista, baby. Obviously, I'll be back. Here's what I'll say is we take all the things that makes Arnold Schwarzenegger who he is.
I'm interested to see if it's you pick the same thing.
Straight man comedy, the one-liner king, teaming up with a child or a comedian. For me, it's he'll live. That's it. After saying, I swear I would not kill anyone, shooting the guard and saying he'll live, it combines all the elements of what we love about Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's a good pick, man.
Yeah, one-liner, straight man, child/partner comedy. It's all in that one line, he'll live. It's a great line.
I had a similar pick to that.
Yeah.
I actually had two. One is kind of a this is my dark horse one it's kind of similar to yours. Is the scene where they're regrouping in Mexico and he just picks up the kid by the overalls and looks at him.
I literally that's my second thing on the most when he picks up the child like a cat.
Yeah, it just looks at him.
Scruffing of the kid. Yeah.
He doesn't know what it is.
So good.
He
looks at it with disgust.
Yeah, right? Like
Yeah.
it's like curious disgust. He's ready to be disgust, but he just needs to confirm it.
It's a similar effect when he says down low too slow, and his face there is so fucking good of just looking mad.
The other moment is when they're on the freeway in the flower truck, and he finally gets fucking sick of the T-1000 and just tells him to take the wheel, and he just turns around and walks up the cab of the truck and just unloads his machine gun directly into the T-1000, reaches in, grabs the truck, and crashes it.
So good. But him walking up and shooting is all in one shot.
Yeah.
And I looking at that shot, I was like, wait a fucking minute.
Yeah.
What did you make a stuntman do?
that feels really pretty hairy.
Super dangerous.
Yeah, seems pretty dangerous.
Yeah, like this is a time where it's like, could you digitally remove certain like harnesses and stuff? I don't know. But that looks like a stuntman
sure you could.
just walking from a car to a truck. I'm sure there was some controlled stuff around it, but it looks fucking good. Yeah, that's a good Arnold moment for sure. But it's hard. It's hard not to give it to Hasta La Vista, baby, for obvious reasons.
Yeah,
I always thought that and I'll Be Back. I always thought were lines that were kind of spun out of control. Because I'll Be Back in the first one, I get it, because that's a great fucking moment. And the one in this is the same thing. He's going to go crash a truck into a building. That's what he did in Terminator 1, too.
Mm-hmm.
But in this, it's more like a casual I'll Be Back and a nod to the first movie. So, like, it's not the I'll Be Back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I think Hasta La Vista is good, but it's also like... I can see the theater just popping when that happens.
They did. It took off. It was like the catchphrase of the movie.
Yeah.
It's in all the
which
games.
Is funny because
it's all the merchandise. It was everywhere.
It's in the act of him doing a dumb thing and actually like fucking it up. Like he's not defeating the T-1000 in that moment.
I always think it's I always misremember it as being when he shoots him with the grenade. And you're right, it's not. It's when he shoots him to blast him apart when he's frozen.
Right. That's the other thing. Do you think this was a cutscene that I thought was fascinating? And you can kind of see there's one shot that's hurt by this. The T-1000 originally was malfunctioning in that scene after he gets back together.
I remember that.
It makes it so that at least that wasn't for nothing because the T-1000 is fucking up. It explains why he's like a little slower in that scene. There's like a couple shots where he like is merging with the stuff around him. And it also explains they actually do it as why John Connor knows Sarah Connor isn't his mom because he looks down and sees that she's melting. That's how they originally did that. Obviously they didn't need it, but I thought that was really cool. And there's one shot where the T-1000 is pursuing where the shot is framed weird, and it's because the shot is framed to show the bars that he's about to grab.
Right, it's the back half of that shot.
It is. And so since they cut it, it just looks like weird shot. Like it's like, why did you frame it that way?
You can tell it's kind of in the middle of a shot that's already happening.
Yeah. I thought that was a cool detail.
It was, and it was kind of, it was cool. Like it, obviously, like you said, it didn't need it because the movie works totally well without it, and you never noticed it was gone. But like, it also gives them, there's just that little glimmer of hope. Like you're like, oh fuck, he's come back together. But then you see, oh wait, this actually fucked with him. So maybe we can destroy this thing.
Yeah. Also, I guess what's her name? Leslie Hamilton. I want to say.
I actually don't know what her twin sister's
She
name
has
is.
passed. She has since passed. R.I.P.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, but shout out to her in this.
Yeah,
she passed in 2020 actually. Linda Hamilton. No, sorry. Leslie Hamilton is her name. Yes.
Gotcha.
She does a great job. She's not an actress. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice bonus. Like the cop also had a twin, and he's been in movies.
Yeah,
as
those
the
twins have been in movies together, like Gremlins 2, probably
But
most famously.
Leslie, not an actress, so they probably went to her and they're like, "Listen, you don't have any lines, just a few scenes. It'll be really helpful." And then there's of course that story about Arnold accidentally grabbing her ass, thinking that she was Linda Hamilton. And I'm like, well, that's still not appropriate if it was Linda Hamilton. He was like, I was so embarrassed. And it's like, don't grab asses,
that's
Arnold.
That's one of many reasons why we don't do that.
Yeah. One of many reasons. Do you do that with all your workout buddies? Do you do that? Like, come on. Please tell me you didn't do that with Claire Danes in T3. For the love of Christ, Arnold. But yeah, Terminator 2. Should we rate it?
I think so. I think it's time for it to be rated.
All right. This is, of course, our rating system of Milky Mouth stabs.
Yep. It's the same system. You guys know it. You guys love it. It's our tried and true, very official ranking system.
Between 1 and 10 Milky Mouth stabs.
Yep. Just milky swords through the mouth.
This is a solid infinity, right? Like,
Yeah,
I don't know what to say.
This is every milky sword through the mouth ever.
Yeah,
Infinite
I'll
milky
give
swords.
it as many milky swords as I possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever's legally allowed.
Yeah,
Not even I'll break the law.
I will break the law. I will hoard milky mouth swords.
Yeah, whatever's physically
To
allowed
achieve this
in
rating.
reality. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it deserves. It's what it deserves. It's the greatest movie of all time.
It's so good.
It's so good.
So, goddamn. After this, I believe it's True Lies. That is just so
Man,
fucking. Oh, we are just.
it's another good
In
one.
it.
It's a little dated. That's a little more dated in some ways.
In some ways, I mean, it's about a guy being an absolute fucking maniac to his wife.
Yeah.
But I still I enjoy. And then yes, there's the racism of it all.
There's some racism in it.
Yeah, but it's still like James Cameron fucking firing on all cylinders. Both of these movies have nukes going off in them, and you don't think True Lies would.
Holy shit.
True Lies has a fucking nuke in
It
it.
does. And way off in the distance as Arnold and Jamie Lee Curtis kiss.
Yeah, that is incredible. So yeah, what a lineup.
Yeah, we're in it. We're in it. We're elbows deep in it now.
Oh wait, hold on. No, sorry. I'm looking at it.
Oh, it's Last Action Hero.
It's Last Action, which is also really good.
Yeah, I'm very
basically,
excited for Last
unless
Action
we
Hero.
want to cover Christmas in Connecticut or Lincoln, the TV movie Lincoln. Christmas in Connecticut, he directed. So after
remember it,
Terminator
yeah.
2, he directed Christmas in Connecticut, which is very funny because he's in it. He's technically in it. But no, we're going to Last Action Hero, then True Lies, then Junior, then Eraser, and things
Sweet.
kind of take a turn.
Yeah, Junior's not very good either, but
Yeah,
we'll talk about it.
we're in the peak though. We're in it.
We're in the peak
I can't wait.
days.
I haven't watched Last Action Hero in a minute, and so that's going to be a lot of fun.
I watch it maybe too often, but it rips.
It does. Oh, hell yeah. So, fuck, man. Thank you to Norm from Cheers.
Thank you so much.
This was great. This is through our Patreon, patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. You can do custom podcasts. We also have exclusive podcasts on there. Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder's Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, Spiel Boys. Those are all on there, so check them out, please.
Yeah. We also have a store. Head over to gamefullyunemployed.com. You can find a link to our Teespring store where we have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs you can get on t-shirts, mugs, stickers, posters, all sorts of things. So slap your Cyberdyne Systems peepers onto that.
Do it.
Yeah, and I don't know. Have a good day. I hope your day's going well.
Have a fine day.
Yeah.
Good day to you, sir or
day.
madam.
Or robot.
Or robot. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Australia.